that I might get irritated or whatever, and I want to rampage in and just knock things over. I always tell people cooperation is obvious. We all know what cooperation looks like and doesn't. And so, I find myself today reading Romans 13, which is let me back up a little bit. I find myself reading Romans 13 for the second time. I'm actually walking through Romans, and so what I like to do is read one chapter a day. It gives my brain enough time just to soak up just a little bit. I've been doing this for years, but I started something new where I would read a chapter. I'd read a whole book, one chapter at a time. I'm in Romans right now. Then I go back and I read it again. So I'm trying to double read, see what I could pick up from a second read. It's just fun, it's just the way I do things. Change it up sometimes. So I figure if I read it twice, I might twice the fun, maybe twice the blessings, who knows. But let's get back to this. So, and what struck me in Romans 13 today was 13:10. It says, love does no harm to a neighbor. I love it. I love it. Therefore, love is the fulfillment of the law. And so, this is something that my wife and I actually practice, not just in our relationship and our marriage, but we actually talk about it for her work. She's a school teacher, and she goes into the classroom and she teaches at a Title I school. There's some tough kids in there that have never heard the word, or not the word so much as heard the way. Let's say it that way, because the word is one thing and the way is the word, but it's actually you can go in there and show love, which is obviously Christ, and in so many different ways. And my wife is so good at that. So, like, for instance, the first day of school when she goes in 8th grade English, these kids are revved up. She has a system where she helps the kids walk through what is love, and it helps them understand, do you take someone's pencil? And she lets them come up with the items that are that they think would be bad, and you say, okay, and she makes this quadrant, and bad stuff here, teacher to teacher, what is bad to the teacher, and she has the students participate, build this out. That is their definition of what good and bad is, I guess, love, and neighbor to neighbor and stuff. And she uses this concept. And it's like, once you get that framework in that very first day, that foundational framework, then the kids all understand, at least even the ones that don't know how to operate in that framework, she teaches them how to operate, because she reminds them that they said that is wrong and that is right. And so she holds them to their own words, and believe it or not, it works well. There's other things you got to do too. So that's an example of it. Once again, love does no harm to a neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfillment of the law. This is Romans 13:10. Just wanted to show you in action. A husband to a wife, how does that look, I guess? A lot of ways. As a husband, when you're reading the word, sometimes you might see the word, you might disagree with your wife, let's say it that way. Not in the word so much as in just daily routines of things. And even though the word is very clear, how to maneuver, it's still, it's not that easy. And so as a husband, love does no harm to a neighbor. My wife is a neighbor. She's not just a wife, she's a neighbor. And the fulfillment of the law says, I will do no harm to her. So there's areas that I might get irritated or, whatever. And I want to rampage in and just knock things over and just get things taken care of. Not physically, but I get things done. That's what I do. So if I want to do something, I do it. But I got to remember, love does no harm to a neighbor. So I can't actually be like that with my wife all the time. Only when necessary. You know what I mean? I must not be like that. Now, that is who I am. Naturally, it's just, I get things done. I'm not we're going this way and we go. And I've always been like that. But that will do harm to my wife. That'll be, okay, let's take this one step further. Me in business or me in ministry. I was early on, here's a good example, early on in ministry when I was just kind of learning baby steps, I guess. I was pulling a bunch of men together, and I was trying to get us all to go that way. You know what I mean? And everybody was excited. They all wanted to go that way. Whatever that way was. You get the point. But as we talked, and I was trying to move, I realized that we can only move as fast as the weakest link if we're moving together. And I don't mean weakest link in that sense, because we all are doing something different. But like, if I'm trying to go that way, and it's going to take me 30 seconds and this guy 2 months, well, that's just, it's going to take me 2 months. This is all there's to it. And so I had to decide how to work into that ministry. And I had to pull back and say, okay, well, I'm just going to let it, almost like the yeast, let it mature itself, because if it is of God, it will be. If it is not of God, it won't. And it's just like super easy equations. And so love helps me be patient, I guess. That's a good example, because I want to see the fruits of the Spirit now. We all do. Don't you know, you can admit it. We all do. But at the same time, there's also joy in the power of sitting back and watching the Lord fulfill his word. So, I've learned that enough to this point. And so, like I said, I always tell people, cooperation is obvious. And that's the one thing I've really learned, is to just be straightforward with yourself. And like a lot of us, I believe, and maybe myself too, a long time ago, I probably lied to myself so much, but about oh no, they're cooperating, and it just dies in the end. They're not cooperating. I knew it the whole time. It's like my brain wanted to convince myself. And then I had a project. I'm going to lean in on this one. And then I had this project, and I had to go all around the state and convince people of stuff. And it was good guys and bad guys. Let's leave it at that. It's my definition, by the way. But good guys and bad guys. And I realized, talking to some of the good guys, that they were actually bad guys for this project. They were not wanting to fulfill the words they were saying to people. What they were trying to do is just say things and then kind of not let it happen. So it was like kind of empty words. And so my job, I discovered all these empty words out there. And I went back and I told my peeps, hey man, there's a bunch of empty words. And nobody cared. They didn't care. They're like, and I'm sitting here thinking to myself, this is crazy. How could nobody care about these empty words? And and then the day came, and it just kind of fizzed, and the empty words became true. I mean, they didn't do the thing they were doing, and the project got lost. And we came back, and we did a second time, and we won the second time. But we learned from that mistake. But I'm just telling you, these are things. Why spend a whole season going against the obvious? That's key here. And so let's once again, let's take it back. Romans 13:10, love does no harm to a neighbor. So what does that mean to you? It means a lot to me. It means listen to God. And it also means that freedom is easy in the Lord. Because what sounds difficult, once you learn to step away from the obviously don't do that, it is freedom. Because I'm not doing that. Like I walk into crowds all the time. I'm going to leave you with this. Walk into crowds all the time. I look around and say, I'm not doing that. And generally speaking, when I say that and I back out of that, and sometimes the people I'm with, they're like shocked. What do you mean? You're not doing that? Well, I'm not doing that. I am not doing that. And I don't necessarily need to make a big sting about it. I could pull myself out of something so easy because I have the Lord. That's all there's to it. I'm not doing that. And so once again, love does no harm to a neighbor. So don't do that. No harming, no harming, no harming. But you're going to have to figure out what that means, because you will know when you harm a neighbor. It should be obvious. And don't do that. And let's say this in Jesus' name. Come on.